So it's kind of exciting. We're reaching, well, this will be the last sutta that we're reading in our introductory packet. And I have to say, it seems like you guys are like really, I don't know, I could be projecting, but it seems like you guys are really all up there with the aggregates. And I think that's awesome. Uh, so, yeah,
Still only five, though.
there are still only five aggregates, but you know what? That gives us a lot to handle, doesn't it? I'm grateful for that. It doesn't fluctuate.
Maybe five is plenty.
I think five is definitely plenty. So it's good to see all of you tonight, and it's good to see some of you that we hadn't seen in a while. Anfang, it's great to see you again, and Sophia in New York. Yes, it's great to see you all tonight. And I am going to share a poem for the evening that this one I picked, and Stephen was kind enough to inform me that it was a very depressing poem, a very depressing pick on my part. That's what he said, even more depressing than the ones I picked. Well, that wasn't my intention, everybody. It's funny because I found it to be quite inspiring. So I don't know, maybe it says more about the reader than the individual who picked it. Who knows? Um, but
Sure, blame the victim.
yeah, that's right. Oh my goodness. No, never is a reader of poetry a victim, never. So, okay. Let me just pull this poem up. I'm sorry, you guys. I go through this sometimes. Aggregates. Here we are. There's so many folders. The folders on Sutta in the Cities server are just becoming more and more. So it's harder and harder to find them. Stephen, did you want to read the poem or shall I?
I think you should for the full effect.
All right, I'll do that. I will go for the full effect. Okay. Can y'all see that?
Yes.
Excellent. Old Age by Virginia Moore, whose name I misspelled. The old man and the eucalyptus tree are shedding leaves quietly. It's easy to live and easier to die after you learn the reason why. Close to the earth, with scarcely a sound, the old tree bends to the ground. And the old man, hour on hour, waters the bean and the trumpet flower, trims the mimosa and digs at the root of the blue and starry primula shoot, nor hurries the little soft field mouse, nor frightens the lizard out of his house. The old man and the eucalyptus tree are making friends with eternity. So that's it. I found it to be extremely, I found it to be very hopeful and inspiring poem. So I'm hoping that you find that as well. Hopefully that we're all making friends with eternity. And in our reading tonight, we have a sutta, and I think this is why I chose this poem. We have a sutta with an elderly gentleman who goes to the Buddha for some advice, and he ends up getting a sermon. I guess you could say a dharmet. Would it be a dharmet from the Buddha? And then a sermon from, who gives the sermon, Stephen?
The great Venerable Sariputta, the Buddha's right hand man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so it's interesting because this is the very first sutta we have in the whole collection on the aggregates in the Samyutta Nikaya. This is what starts it off. And Regina and I have been sort of bantering a bit about the ordering of this Samyutta, or maybe even the ordering of suttas in general, if there really is a master plan or if it is not so planned. It's a bit hard to say. But I find it striking that this sutta, the first sutta, is given to a lay follower, is not given to a monastic. And this lay follower who has the name of Nakulapita is said in other places to be one of the foremost lay followers, I think, along with his wife, of all for the Buddha or of the Buddha. And so I think there's must be some backstory here where these two people have met before. This is not a first encounter. I also find it fun and strange that the place that they go to is called the Crocodile Mountain. That's called the Sung Sumara Gira. Crocodile Mountain. I wonder if there must be really a place, but I don't really know. Anyway, we can look at this text and we'll see in the way what the Buddha has to say. And then I think the Buddha sort of passes the baton to Sariputta.
I just wanted to ask a quick question, Stephen. You said that what is his name?
Nakula Pita.
Yeah, you said that Nakulapita is one of the foremost lay followers of the Buddha. However, a lot of other names come to mind, like Anathapindika, and I'm just wondering where they stand in terms of lay followers.
I don't know. I don't know. And I'm kind of relying on the commentary here and the footnoting. And it says here, Venerable Buddha writes, the Buddha pronounced him, this is Nakulapita, which name means father of Nakula. Pita is father, Mata is mother. It says, the Buddha pronounced him and his wife the most trusting of his lay disciples. According to the commentary, they had been the Blessed One's parents in 500 past lives, and his close relations in many more past lives. And so it seems like they've had a somewhat long-term relationship.
I'd say so. Well, so we have quite a lot of reading to do tonight, so I think we should get with it. And as always, if you'd like to share, please raise your hand so that we can call on you. We will need lots of readers for tonight. And
I'll share.
All right, we'll start with Sue Ann.
Want me to start now?
Sure, that sounds great.
Okay, great. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling among the Bhagas at Samsamara Gira in the Beshkala Grove, the deer park. Then the householder Nakulapita approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him, sat down to one side, and said to him, I am old, Venerable Sir, aged, burdened with years, advanced in life, come to the last stage, afflicted in body, often ill. I rarely get to see the Blessed One and the bhikkhus worthy of esteem. Let the Blessed One exhort me, Venerable Sir. Let him instruct me, since that would lead to my welfare and happiness for a long time. So it is, householder, so it is. This body of yours is afflicted, weighed down, encumbered. If anyone carrying around this body were to claim to be healthy, even for a moment, what is that due to other than foolishness? Therefore, householder, you should train yourself thus. Even though I am afflicted in body, my mind will be unafflicted. Thus should you train yourself.
Thank you,
Then the
Sue Ann.
household. Oh,
Thank you, Sue Ann. And I must say, the Buddha doesn't mince words, does he?
no.
Right? He does not mince words. Okay. Thank you so much, Sue Ann. And remember, if you want to read, please raise your hand. I believe Ken was next, and then we go with Diane. And thank you, Sue Ann.
You're welcome.
Then the householder Nakulapita, having delighted and rejoiced in the Blessed One's statement, rose from his seat, and having paid homage to the Blessed One, keeping him on his right, he approached the Venerable Sariputta. Having paid homage to the Venerable Sariputta, he sat down to one side, and the Venerable Sariputta said to him, Householder, your faculties are serene, your facial complexion is pure and bright. Did you get to hear a Dhamma talk today in the presence of the Blessed One? Why not, Venerable Sir? Just now I was anointed by the Blessed One with the ambrosia of a Dhamma talk. With what kind of ambrosia of a Dhamma talk did the Blessed One anoint you, householder? Here, Venerable Sir, I approached the Blessed One. The householder, Nakulapita, repeats his entire conversation with the Buddha.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that, Ken. Diane?
It was with the ambrosia of such a Dhamma talk, Venerable Sir, that the Blessed One anointed me. Didn't it occur to you, householder, to question the Blessed One further as to how one is afflicted in body and afflicted in mind, and how one is afflicted in body but not afflicted in mind? We would come from far away, Venerable Sir, to learn the meaning of this statement from the Venerable Sariputta. It would be good indeed if the Venerable Sariputta would clear up the meaning of this statement. Then listen and attend closely, householder. I will speak. Yes, Venerable Sir, the householder Nakulapita replied. The Venerable Sariputta said this.
Thank you, Diane. And I believe Jean is next. And you want to be sure to unmute yourself.
Okay. How, householder, is one afflicted in body and afflicted in mind? Here, householder, the uninstructed worldling, who is not a seer of the noble ones, and is unskilled and undisciplined in their Dhamma, who is not a seer of superior persons, and is unskilled and undisciplined in their Dhamma. Didn't I just say that?
You're good.
Regards form as self, or self as possessing form, or form as in self, or self as in form. He lives obsessed by the notion, I am form, form is mine, and he lives obsessed by the notions that form of his changes and alters. With the change and alteration of form, there arises in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair.
Thank you so much, Jean.
Wow. Can I just say something here? Because there's an interesting footnote inserted at this point. And so we've had this kind of trope many times now, this 4 kinds of view regarding each of the 5 aggregates. And so these are the sort of 20 different types of Sakkaya Ditthi, personality view. And the commentary gives an interesting gloss on what these 4 might mean more specifically. And I thought I'd read that out because it seemed interesting to me. And the first one, of course, is he regards form as self. By regarding form and the self as indistinguishable, just as the flame of an oil lamp and its color are indistinguishable. The second, he regards self as possessing form. When he takes the formless, i.e. the mind or mental factors, as a self that possesses form, in the way that a tree possesses a shadow. And the third, form as in self, when he takes the formless, the mind, as a self within which form is situated, as the scent is in a flower. And the fourth, self as in form, which he takes when he takes the formless, that's the mind, as a self situated in form, as a jewel is in a casket. And then it glosses the lines. He is obsessed by the notions, I am form, form is mine, by saying, he swallows these ideas with craving and views, takes his stand upon them, and grasps hold of them. And so that's the sort of classic commentarial similes of these 4 types of view regarding the relationship between a permanent self and an aggregate.
Thank you for that, Stephen.
So should we continue reading about the other aggregates, Regina? Would you like to read a bit?
I would, but you know what? There's a couple people we haven't heard in a while, and so I like hearing other. Can we call on a few people? You know, like for example, Ayavimala hasn't been here for a while. It would be fun to hear. Ayavimala, would you be amenable to reading? Okay, maybe I should.
Okay. He regards feeling as self, or self as possessing feeling, or feeling as in self, or self as in feeling. He lives obsessed by the notions, I am feeling, feeling is mine. As he lives obsessed by these notions, that feeling of his changes and alters. With the change and alteration of feeling, there arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. He regards perception as self, or self as possessing perception, or perception as in self, or self as in perception. He lives obsessed by the notions, I am perception, perception is mine. As he lives obsessed by these notions, that perception of his changes, that perception of his changes and alters. With the change and alteration of perception, there arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair.
Thank you, Ayavimala.
Thank you.
So if anyone else would like to read, otherwise I'm going to resort to calling on people. Maybe Stephen wants to read a paragraph.
Well, I can read.
Okay.
He regards volitional formations as self, or self as possessing volitional formations, or volitional formations as in self, or self as in volitional formations. He lives obsessed by the notions, I am volitional formations. Volitional formations are mine. As he lives obsessed by these notions, those volitional formations of his change and alter. With the change and alteration of volitional formations, there arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. He
Wow.
regards consciousness as self, or self as possessing consciousness, or consciousness as in self, or self as in consciousness. He lives obsessed by the notions, I am consciousness. Consciousness is mine. As he lives obsessed by these notions, the consciousness of his changes and alters. With the change and alteration of consciousness, there arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. It is in such a way, householder, that one is afflicted in body and afflicted in mind.
Wow. So these aggregates are really intense. They're afflictions.
So let me ask you this, Regina. So
Sure.
this is maybe hypothetical for you. I don't want to imply anything, but if you ever looked at your physical form, maybe like your face, and if you could imagine maybe you saw a wrinkle,
You are so below the belt. You had to go there.
would you say like, wait a second, something is changing and altering, but this is my face? And would it be possible that there could have been sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair? Or maybe, I'm not saying that you might have
Okay.
wrinkles, but you
Okay.
can
Okay.
imagine that one day in the far off future, wrinkles might occur.
Okay. I have a feeling that this is coming from the hike we took the other day in Rye, New York, this is not supposed to be told in public, but we were taking a hike and there was snow and I had on no sunscreen. And as a vain woman, I know that sun causes wrinkles. And when one is in the snow, it's even more harmful to one's skin. So I think that somehow you got into my inner psyche, or perhaps I overshared with you, Stephen. But yes, there is
Changing
sorrow.
and altering.
I don't know where they are, but I'm staying at a friend's house now, and she had pictures of a party that we went to like many, many years ago. And in one of those pictures, there is I, or the form that I mistake as I. And I'm like, wow, I sure wish I looked like that now. But then, when it was then, when I was the I then, that I then was probably, I know she was thinking, oh, I'm so old. Why can't I look like I was 10 years earlier? Yeah, I think there does arise some sorrow, lamentation, pain, and despair. And what's even funnier, now that we're in the age of coronavirus, perhaps some of you have read the news that, everyone is on Zoom now. And apparently it's bringing sorrow, lamentation, pain, and despair to many. And plastic and cosmetic surgery has just gone through the roof. This is a fact. I mean, here it is. It's a pandemic. People are incredibly ill, but those who are not are getting the old nip and tuck for their form.
Why can't we just have software that makes me without my form changing and altering instead of going for surgery?
They do actually have some, what you mean, we can like have
Cloaking software.
updates to our facial.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, there is cloaking software on Zoom, but I found it doesn't work very well. Not that I've ever tried it.
Well,
So.
And the sad part is, even though you can change your face, your perceptions, your feelings, your volitional activities, and your consciousness is harder to operate on.
Well, it is harder to operate on. For example, I don't know, but who hasn't had this sense of feeling? Where do we have feeling? Regarding feeling as self, or who hasn't had a sense of feeling change and felt sad about it?
I have a memory of you've had a feeling of unpleasantness when the temperature wasn't like Florida weather the other day outside on the seaside.
Yeah, well, when we went for a walk, I didn't know you're going to take me way north of the city by the water where it was like it was like blustery cold. But yeah, there is that. That feeling was unpleasant.
Did
That
you
feeling,
think, wow, I am cold? Or were you like of correct wisdom by saying there's cold, there's a nervous system, synapses are firing, but these feelings are certainly not mine?
I think I recall that I kept saying I'm cold, and you kept saying cold is arising.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I remember that.
We could get a shirt. Cold is arising. Heat is happening.
Yeah. I mean, heat being arising would be just fine, but it was just cold all the way through and through. But yeah, I remember that being a few days ago. I also remember certain things that I really identified with, years before. Maybe I had a crush on someone, and that person, I felt those feelings. I loved them and I wanted them to stay forever because it really gave me this certain high. And then when I noticed certain cracks and fissures of perfection and the object of my beloved, those feelings started waning and waning. That love was less intense. And it was really sad because it wasn't even so sad that the beloved of my mind was no longer that, but it was this sadness of not having that feeling.
Wow. Well, maybe we should try to learn about how we could be afflicted in body, but not in mind.
Okay.
Although I think this is kind of a scary phrase because it points to maybe a misperception of this dualistic view of the body, which I'm not so thrilled about. And of course, I understand that we talk in language, we speak this way. It's a normal human being way of talking and reading. And maybe that's not really possible to avoid it. But I'm pretty sure that the Buddha thought about the five aggregates as one thing, not two things that are sort of harnessed together that could be maybe sliced apart.
Sounds fair, Stephen. So we're going to need a few more readers, and we'll be starting here where it says, and now householder. And I will call on Todd because I'm seeing him right now.
And now.
Okay. And how, householder, is one afflicted in body, but not afflicted in mind? Here, householder, the instructed noble disciple, who is a seer of the noble ones and is skilled and disciplined in their Dhamma, who is a seer of superior persons and is skilled and disciplined in their Dhamma, does not regard form as self, or self as possessing form, or form as in self, or self as in form. He does not live obsessed by the notions, I am form, form is mine. As he lives unobsessed by these notions, that form of his changes and alters. With the change and alteration of form, there do not arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair.
Thank you
Mm.
so much.
Well, Regina, I'm sorry to say, it seems to report here that even for the noble instructed disciple, there will be a change of form.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Don't
that
take
is,
it personally.
it's a bit of a buzzkill, but hey, we've got to face what we have to face.
Okay.
All right, so then the next, how about, I'm just calling on people, and if you have a sore throat or you don't feel you can speak, just say no, I'm not ready for that. So what about Catherine? Are you comfortable reading, Catherine, from Kuala Lumpur?
Yes, yes.
Wonderful.
You hear?
Yes.
He does
Starting
not
up.
regard feeling as self, or self as possessing feeling, or feeling as in self, or self as in feeling. He does not live obsessed by the notion, I am feeling, feeling is mine. As he lives unobsessed by these notions, that feeling with
Okay.
the change and alteration of feeling, they do not arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain,
Okay.
displeasure, and despair.
Thank you
He
so
does
much,
not
Kat.
regard, okay,
I'm sorry, you know, the reason why is because the connection is a little, we're hearing
yeah,
some, and
it's very bad here. It's very
but
bad.
thank you so much. Much
It's sort of
appreciated.
changing and altering a little.
It is changing and altering. So see, that was perfect. What about Lily Tan? Okay. So then okay, Lily is, okay. We'll go, Sophia, are you able to read, Sophia? Okay, we may have to finish. Just, Lily, are you there? Okay. Well,
Sophia, are you there? Perhaps.
Hello,
not.
Regina.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
okay, great. So both of you, one go one time and then the next. That'd be perfect.
Okay, I'll read the first one or which one? Okay,
You're
go.
great. Go for it.
He does not regard perception as self, or self as possessing perception, or perception as in self, or self as in perception. He does not live obsessed by the notion, I am perception, perception is mine. As he lives unobsessed by these notions, that perception of his changes and alters. With the change and alteration of perception, there do not arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. Continue?
Oh, sure. One more paragraph would be great.
He does not regard volitional formation as self, or self as possessing volitional formation, or volitional formation as in self, or self as volitional formations. He does not live obsessed by the notion, I am volitional formation. Volitional formation are mine. As he lives unobsessed by these notions, those volitional formation of his change and alter. With the change and alteration of volitional formations, there do not arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair.
Thank you so much, Lily. It was great to hear you read with us tonight.
Wait, I think that was Sophia.
Was that Sophia?
It doesn't matter. It's alteration of form doesn't matter.
Wow, Sophia, you sounded so much like Lily. Okay,
Wow.
well, I will say the same thing. Lily, it's so great to hear you read, and it's great to have you with us tonight. So thank you for joining. Thank you. So now we'll hear from Lily, who is the Lily, not the Sophia Lily.
Regina, sorry to inform you that I'm a visually challenged, so I won't be
Okay.
able to do that well.
Okay,
And,
thank you.
it's over. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Regina, I'm
Yep.
assigning you.
He does not regard consciousness as self or self as possessing consciousness or consciousness as in self or self as in consciousness. He does not live obsessed by the notions. I am consciousness. Consciousness is mine. As he lives unobsessed by these notions that consciousness of his changes and alters. With the change and alteration of consciousness, there do not arise in him sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. It is in such a way, householder, that one is afflicted in body, but not afflicted in mind. That is what the Venerable Sariputta said. Elated, the householder Nakulapita delighted in the Venerable Sariputta's statement. Wow.
I hope you're related too. Or can I call you the 5 aggregates subject to clinging, or can I just use Regina for shorthand?
Yeah, let's just use Regina for shorthand, and let's not like make note of the fact that this body-mind complex is subject to clinging, because we already know that, Stephen. It's very subject to clinging.
I'm clinging to my clinging.
Okay. So yeah, this was great because it talked about how we suffer through the aggregates and how we can set ourselves free by not clinging to the aggregates. What is just the opposite. Instead of saying, I'm these plans I'm making and I've got great plans. And the reason these plans are great is because I'm great and I make great plans. It's like, you know, we're all just these body-mind complex, or as Bhikkhu Bodhi likes to say, or I've heard him say, the psychophysical form. And I understand, Stephen, what you were saying about this Cartesian split, the mind versus the body. But there is a sense wherein the mind experiences suffering in a different way than the physical body. Am I right?
I would say so. And you know, one of the things I thought of while reading this sutta was the famous simile of the second dart. Can you refresh us about the second dart?
Sure, why not? Well, I'll just go back to that example that you shared with everyone about our walk and how I was so complaining about the cold. So it was cold. And I will say to you guys that Stephen had told me to wear impermeable shoes. I didn't know that we were gonna, I'm in New York, so I'm like, they've already plowed the sidewalks.
We have this thing called snow. Yeah.
Yeah, but in New York City, Stephen, they clean the streets of that, so you don't have to worry so much. Anyways, he took us to the woods. So you do need impermeable shoes, I found out, and mine, I found out, were not, but they were stylish. Very, I'm not joking, you guys. Like, how cool are these? And see the little toggle? Isn't that cute? And I dare say I got them in Prague. And, you know, we New Yorkers like to get stuff out of the country because then when people ask where we got them, we can say, oh, I got these in Prague. You know, so it just makes it have a bit more of a gloss. But they were impermeable.
Where did you get your ice cold feet?
Well, they were impermeable. They're impermeable. So the first arrow, of course, is that sensation of cold as the melting snow was seeping into the boot. So that is the first arrow, that dart of pain of, ooh, cold. Then the second arrow was me on this walk when I kept saying, Stephen said impermeable. These were not impermeable. You always have to try to be this fashion plate, but look what you did. Now your feet are getting frostbitten, and Stephen is taking us around the entire lake. It looks like he's not going to take the first turn off the lake. It's not like he's not taking the second. We're going all the way. Oh, why is Stephen like this? And then it just goes, you know, it goes from the first arrow of cold toes to the second arrow. How was I so ridiculous? And then, you can add a lot of arrows and be like a porcupine if you're not careful.
Well, we didn't have to amputate.
No, we did not, which is a good thing.
So far, your your toes aren't permanent, but they're still permanently attached.
They're attached right now. Yes, they are. So it's good. But yeah, that second arrow can be very unpleasant. And sometimes the second arrow can be more unpleasant than the first. I mean, have you ever gotten like closed your door and a finger in a door? That hurts so bad, and it does hurt. But then it's like, not only you have that physical pain, but then you're like, how could you have been in such a hurry? If you weren't in a hurry, you wouldn't have closed the door on your finger. You're always in a hurry, and then it just goes. And I find that we can learn a lot about ourselves, or let me rephrase. I find I can learn a lot about myself and this body-mind complex by listening to those second arrows and those formations, those conditioned thoughts, those that come unbidden in times of pain. It's like, well, where did that come from? And what does that reveal?
Well, I can tell you that one time I was hiking in Colorado at pretty high altitude, and stupid me decided to go scrambling on some wet rocks, upon which I fell down and yanked myself. And I thought, well, I'm okay. And I climbed back down and I started walking back to my friends, and somebody else who was standing there pointed at my arm and he said, dude, you're really bleeding.
Okay.
Which I didn't even notice. And I looked over at my arm and it was like pretty severely gashed open and pretty red. And when I had a look at that arm, oh my goodness, how painful that was. My arm. But what's amazing is that before it was pointed out to me, I didn't even feel it. I didn't even notice. I was just too embarrassed to have fallen down, and I didn't even notice my arm was sliced open. But once somebody pointed it out, wow, that was a painful experience.
Well, one of the things I'm sorry that happened to you, Stephen. One of the things I really like about this teaching is that when we do have these types of feelings, for example, when you're a teenager and you're breaking up with your one true love who you were meant to be with from till the day you died, and you break up with that person, and the pain that it causes, it can be almost unbearable. And of course, we have certain pains like that when we're older, like we didn't get into the college of our choice, or we didn't get that job promotion, or we got laid off in a pandemic. All of these things can be truly painful. But what is so liberating about this teaching is the Buddha says, this is not me. This is not mine. In other words, it's not so all encompassing. Like the liberating practice is to feel the pain. And yes, no, pain is arising through this body-mind complex, but it doesn't have to devour us. Recognizing it, it's something that Tarania said, I believe in the second to the last time we met, is that we don't have to be devoured by these things. I'm just would like to know if any of you have had this experience where you've had great, maybe not my experience of looking at yourself on Zoom and wishing you could afford some of these things that people are able to buy, like Botox and such, apparently. But maybe you've had other experiences of lamentation about your physical form. Maybe I don't know, you've gotten out of shape during COVID. Maybe you got COVID, or maybe it's been a feeling. And if you've had this ability to like say, yes, this hurts, and I see it for what it is, and not glom onto it. I would love to hear if any of you have that experience or have had, if you're comfortable sharing, or if you have questions about what we just read. Because Stephen shared about his arm.
Obviously, everyone here except you and me, Regina, are arahants, so we're like in the wrong Zoom meeting entirely.
We are.
So the Patujinas have stumbled into the wrong Zoom room. It appears.
Always a Patujina. Always a Patujina. If any of you have any questions, or if you would like to share questions about how maybe you can experience feeling as feeling and not me or my, or physical form as physical form and not me or my, it'd be a great time to share if you so desire.
Regina?
Yes.
Regina?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Can I say something? I would like to, sometimes when I'm like on my way to the gym, for instance, and I'm in a lot of pain all the time, but when I get on, working out, those endorphins kick in, and I don't care about the pain. The pain is still there, but I don't care about it. So when I come out, and then I can start feeling the pain again, sometimes what I find is helpful, and I can't do this all the time, but I have been trying it a lot lately, especially in the cold weather. I say, sort of paraphrasing Ajahn Chah on that subway train station platform in India. There is pain here, but it is not my pain. And I just keep repeating that over to myself. And I feel like it lessens it a little bit. But I don't know if I'm just kidding myself. Am I trying to self-hypnotize myself, or am I really believing it? Because I am trying to let go, and I do cling to my younger self. And believe me, I'm glad I can't get on this Zoom. I don't want people seeing me. And I know exactly how that goes. But so I'm trying it with the pain, because that's something that's really, it hurts a lot. And it really does help if I just keep repeating, there is pain here. Like I acknowledge that my legs are in pain, but it is not my pain, so that I'm not owning it and then getting that second arrow of, oh God, I've got pain, and now it's even worse, because now it's going to get worse by the time I get home, and adding stuff onto it. So, so I just, that's one experience.
I think that's, to me, from what I'm hearing you share, it sounds really good. I don't want to judge it, but it sounds like, doing exactly what we just read, recognize. Number one, I think it's super important to recognize, because the Buddha's not saying pretend pain isn't there and just ignore it or say you shouldn't have it. It's very important, of course, recognize. And then, yes, not completely divorce, but just realize, yes, pain is arising. Pain is arising in the foot. Pain is arising in the legs, and allowing it to be. And I think that, I know for myself as a person who has chronic pain, it's something that has been very beneficial to myself as well. Pain is occurring. Pain is occurring.
Even for the Buddha.
Yes.
We read about in the sutta about his death, the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, where it's described how he essentially had dysentery. He was dying. And it says that he bore the discomfort mindfully, right? It doesn't say the Buddha didn't experience illness, he didn't experience physical pain. It says he bore this mindfully. So it's all about one's relationship, in a sense, to these sensations, to these situations. It's not about somehow escaping pain in its entirety.
Right.
Right.
Okay, thank you for letting me share.
Yes, thank you, Sue-Ann. And we have thank you. We have just a few brief seconds. If anyone wanted to add something quickly, or we can just say a nice goodbye. And I just want to once again thank everyone for being here tonight. And we're really looking forward to starting the next section. Like, we'll call it the intermediate. Hopefully you guys feel pretty good about the AGS. I know I feel pretty good about it. And we will get out our next packet of readings within the next couple of days. And we look forward to seeing you all this coming Sunday.
Okay. All 5 aggregates in tow.
That is correct. Great. So
Right.
everyone have a wonderful weekend. And if you celebrate Christmas, that too. And we'll see you Sunday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for
Bye.
everything. Good night,
Thank you.
everyone.
Good
Blessings.
night.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Merry
Bye-bye.
Christmas.
Thank you.
Bye.